Hey everybody, what's up? I'm James Wallace with Transit. We're coming back at you guys with our next installment of Rhythm in Motion, our video vocal percussion series. Just like always, if you have a video response, if you have any comments, any feedback, any questions, just leave them with us below. We'll make sure to get to them as we keep going along. So what I want to look at today with you guys is something we actually visited several videos ago. Just want to return to it, go a little more in depth with it. And that's the idea of vocal percussion and bass singing done together at the same time. Often referred to as beat bass by people who do this frequently or actually do it solely for their group. And really what I want to do today is just go a little more in depth with this, just kind of go over a couple tips and tricks that I've picked up from doing it a little bit over the years that make it a little easier to do. Maybe might help it flow a little bit better and keep those grooves and those patterns moving along a little better than they might otherwise. Alright, so I just want to start today with a very quick discussion about maybe what songs are best for beat bass if you have an option, and what songs, again, if you are able, you can kind of leave and let a dedicated bass singer or bass section do. So as you can probably imagine, with beat bass, you're effectively doing, again, vocal percussion and bass singing together at the same time. Now, for anyone who's done one or the other or both, I think you'll quickly realize that if you're doing these two together, effectively what it means is you will have to do a little bit less of both if you want to get them together sounding good and sounding like what it needs to for your group to utilize. Now that doesn't mean that you have to do anything not as well. It just means you might have to do a little bit less with each component to make it fit together and to make it keep moving along. So that might mean your vocal percussion pattern might have to be a little less busy or a little less intricate. And it may also mean that you may not be able to fit in every note or every sequence of notes in your bass singing that you might otherwise do if you were a dedicated bass singer. So with that in mind, the idea that when you do them together, you may need to do a little bit less of both. As you can probably imagine, it's a bit easier to do this, in my opinion at least, with songs that have kind of moving bass lines, or that is to say, songs that don't require kind of really fluid or kind of really drawn out bass notes that are held for a long time that really have to function as a rock solid tonic or core for the chords that are being sung by the singers on top of you. Because as you can imagine, if you're doing a little bit less with the bass because you're having to also do the vocal percussion, that may mean that if you really need that rock solid note on the bottom, that may be taken away a little bit, and it really might affect your other vocalists quite a bit when you're doing a song. So again, if you have an option while you're doing beat bass, if you can say just choose which songs you want to try beat bass on, my suggestion would be to start with the songs that have a little bit more moving bass line, a little more active bass line, and songs where the arrangement doesn't call for more sustained held out notes that have to serve as a very, very strong tonic and core sound for the rest of the group. It's basically just going to make it a little bit easier to put them together, and if you have to do a little bit less with the bass singing, it's not going to affect your singers quite so much. Alright, so with that in mind, I've kind of thought about just a quick, simple little bass line that I would like to go over with you guys and then incorporate into a fairly simple beat of the week. Put it with some vocal percussion just to give you an idea of how you can do these things. And what you really want to do, a really important part of beat bass, is really, really planning out and really, really giving a lot of time consideration to how you're going to fuse the bass singing with the vocal percussion. Because again, if you want it to serve the rhythmic foundation for your group, if you want it to really be that solid groove, but also that solid tonality that you need with the bass singing, you really want to make sure that you've planned it out and really spoken to your group members too about what they need from the bass and the percussion to make sure it fits into songs and to sets the way it needs to do that. Alright, so again, I've got a little quick just bass line I just kind of came up with the top of my head that I'm going to sing for you guys just very quickly. Then I'm going to try to throw it into a beat of the week and see if we can practice a little bit on it. Alright, so this is again just a very simple bass line I've come up with. You can see it's somewhat rhythmic anyway, and that'll help us as we move in to putting some vocal percussion on top of it. So here it is, that quick little bass line. Forgive me, I'm not really a consistent bass singer, so I'm kind of just putting this together as I can, but I think it'll serve the purpose for what we're doing. Now, when I put vocal percussion on top of that, what I'm trying to think of are what are some of the most important hits, or what are some of the most important moments of that bass line that are going to function for my vocalists and for the groove of the song. And for me, as you can imagine, it's really kind of some of those emphasized points. The downbeat, specifically, I think is going to be very important. Some of the notes that move in between are not going to be quite as important to what we're doing. They're great if they're there, but they can potentially be sacrificed with the movement of that bass line to fit the singers and to fit the songs. So here's a quick little thing I've come up with that bass line. You can see I'll be altering it just slightly just to fit it in with the vocal percussion. And here's where that planning really comes into effect to give it the right groove and give it the right feel as you're incorporating it with your singers. So again, here's the same bass line, more or less, that I've put together with vocal percussion for this Beatbass beat of the week. Here we go. Alright, you can see there's kind of a lot going on there. I threw a few different things in there just to kind of give you an idea of some things you can do. There's a little bit of syncopation here and there. As you can probably tell, I'm really not putting a lot of complex vocal percussion components in there. I'm really just confining it to my B kick drum and my PF snare, which sometimes, even if there's notes going underneath the kick drum and the snare, even those sounds can be modified a little bit to really fit the feel of the song, to fit the need of the song. So again, I'm going to do that line again with kind of a few different components involved, mainly just using my B kick drum, PF snare. There may be a little hi-hat and a little TS hi-hat thrown in there. But the main thing I'm trying to do, again, is just establish that groove and that pattern in a way that's going to help fit that. So here's again, this week's beat of the week with Beatbass using percussion and the bass line. Here we go. Alright, so I want you guys to take that, give it a whirl, see if you can put some percussion to that bass line, see if you can come up with your own Beatbass beat, and see if you can really start to develop that into something that you could potentially put into a song with your vocalist and really have it serve the function of the bass singer and the percussion, the rhythm section all together. Alright, so work on that, guys, this week. We'll come back at you guys next time with something new and exciting on Rhythm and Motion, our video vocal percussion series.